Awesome. Well, Elliot, I am stoked to have a chance to chat with you about just your experience, how far you've come. I know you've been talking for a while now, but just the results you've been able to accomplish with your diabetes. But obviously, not everybody knows about your amazing journey just yet before we get into it. So I would love for everyone just to kind of find out a little bit more about you. Is it possible for you to share a little bit about yourself and your diabetes, like how long you've had it? Are you on a pump or MDI, that sort of thing?
Yeah, sure. That would be a pleasure. So I'm 74. I've been a diabetic since I was 30, and it was a huge shock. I was actually in a recording band. I was making Irish music with a really nice group. We were just about to record we called it a record in those days. And a friend of mine that I lived with, he said, I think you have diabetes. My roommate, he said, your behavior is really strange, all these symptoms. So I went and got it checked out. And 3 days later, after I went to the doctor's appointment, actually the police came to get me and they hauled me off to the hospital because my sugar was so high. So I was staggered.
Wow.
Uh, I spent a week in the hospital, and in those days they kicked you out pretty much and said good luck, and you'll have to take a shot every day for the rest of your life. And then it was, it's amazing actually how healthy you can be after abusing your diabetes for so long, because my numbers were totally out of control. And after about 15 years, I was really desperate though, because I knew that something was wrong. And I went to see my endocrinologist, and he said, "I'm sorry, I can't help you. I don't know what to tell you." And that was just so terrible to hear. I mean, this was my doctor, the guy that I depended on for this stuff. And that's not a reflection by any means on all the other great endocrinologists, but he was at the low end of the total, of the ranking as far as I was concerned. So went back to see my GP, and she said, I've just been to hear this great doctor he's a pioneer in insulin pumps. I went to see a lecture by him, and I'm very excited about that. So why don't you go get an appointment to see him? So she made me a reference. And I couldn't believe it was so easy to see this guy who was a megastar in the world of endocrinologists. So off I went, and he got me going on a Medtronic pump. And that was brilliant, because my problem with MDI was that I'm so insulin sensitive that I was getting hypoglycemic events like all the time. Every meal, I would just go too low because I was taking way too much insulin.
Mm.
And I couldn't take, the kind of very, very small doses that I can take with a pump. With my pump, I can do, if I wanted to, I'll do 0.3 units or something.
Right.
So, pumps are just great for that kind of situation. So that was quite wonderful. And that was the next part of the journey. And then I sort of blithely went along until I was getting older and my numbers were getting wilder and wilder. And I would discuss this with my doctor, and he said, "Oh, that's normal. As you get older, your blood sugar will get more labile." That was the term he used for it. And labile. Wow, that's pretty impressive. I'm labile. I had no idea what he was talking about. But the bottom line was, he said, "Oh, that's normal. Don't sweat it."
Mm.
And to be honest, he's a bit like that. And he's a really good doctor, but he doesn't get freaked out by high numbers. He says, "You're healthy, don't worry about it." But like, that's him, and I'm me, and I worry about it if my numbers are not good. So anyway, I didn't do anything for a few years, and then I heard about CGM, continual glucose monitoring, and there was nothing available. I was on this insurance plan that didn't provide coverage for anything at that point for CGM. But I found out about this amazing device in Sweden by a company called Bubbleland, Bubblan, that makes an add-on for the LibraView 1. That's the first LibraView that came out with no Bluetooth. And I hooked it up, and that was like night and day. I mean, that was brilliant. So that was about a year and a half ago. And all of a sudden, I was getting woken up at night by alerts. And I could look at my watch and, oh my God, I'm going down. I think I think it's time to have a snack. So that was just great, so thank God for CGMs. Everyone should get one if they possibly can. And this one's really cheap.
Yeah.
So, you pay $300 and you're good for the rest of your life with this thing, if you have the Libra Freestyle to put on top of it. So that was last year. And then I heard about you, and I started seeing all of your videos. So I ate them all up, and then I watched last year's diabetic summit, and everything you were saying was just so enticing, because I love learning. And like, I didn't understand diabetes. And still, I love to understand things. And this was a big contradiction for me. And my doctor saying, "Oh, you can't do anything about these numbers. Just live with it. Set your alerts really high at night. That's okay. You can put it up." I'm in Canada, so we use 1 million miles per liter. So he said, put it at 13, which is, I don't know.
Oh, wow.
I actually have an app, so I'll just look it up. Take 1 second here, figure out what it
Yeah.
is, and I'll give you these numbers instead of torturing everyone. Yeah. So 13 is 234. He said you can even put it up at 60, which is
Wow.
288. So,
Yeah.
So I go, okay, and I lived like that for a while with this CGM. And then I heard about you, and I also heard about the tandem pump, and we talked at that time. And I was going to start the course a few months earlier, and I wanted to push the course off until after I got the pump. That was it. And you convinced me. You said, "Elliot, if you do the course, we'll get your basal under control, and that's going to really help you with your tandem." And what can I say? You were right. Like, the match of your program and the tandem pump is just fabulous. They really work well together. So anyway, I decided to take the course, and I jumped right in. And I learned all these great principles on finally how to understand my diabetes in really practical terms. The role of exercise, the role of, very specific things about how to use exercise, different kinds of exercise, which is just great. And, I learned about food and, the role of fibers, the role of fats, the role of protein, all these subtle things, which, it sounds great in theory, but what do you do with this information? Well, you teach us how to use the information. Like, how does it affect your pre-bolus? Is it going to mean that your pre-bolus is less or more, depending on what's going on? So, like, there's so much, really, it's a little bit technical. Like, you're always talking about formulas, but like, they're so practical. Like, they're really useful information, and I use them every day. So I know I'm talking a lot. Like, if you want to jump in and say, "Elliot, slow down, stop. There's a question here," because I'll just keep going. So it's as you wish.
You've
Do
given us
you
a
have a
great
question?
You've
Or do
given
you
us a
want me
great
to just...
linear perspective of this. I'm enjoying the journey as you're taking us through it.
Well, one other thing, and then it's your turn. So I'm gonna, can I share my screen? Are you gonna let me do that?
Yeah, let's do that. Go for it.
All right, screen. Yeah, so that is, I don't know if you see this.
Holy cow.
That's for the last 2 days.
That's current.
Yeah, that's really current. That's what I am yesterday and today and a little bit of the day before, and that is just mind-boggling for me.
Wow.
And my big problem, if I go back 7 days, it was about 92, and 14 was 91, and I would be better. And we can stop the share because that's cool. Yeah, I would be better if it wasn't for my occasional site failures, and that which are just, I hate them so much because they screw up my numbers.
I know.
And I take that very personally, but they happen, and I'm still getting used to the dexcom. Like, it took me a while to figure out where to put it. It was really wonky for a while, so that was very disturbing. But now it's going better. And yeah, so it's going really well, and I know it's going to get better. Like, some things I just need to practice more and get used to thinking about how predictable things really are. And in the past, I didn't have that sense of predictability at all. And it just means that I'm less stressed, in general. And if something's going haywire, I can fix it. I know what to do, at least within reason. And, sure, there's bad meals and bad days. But one other thing I wanted to share, just another victory, which is like yesterday, I had pizza for lunch, homemade pizza, stayed in range the whole time.
Oh, wow.
And I had spaghetti for supper, and stayed in range the whole time. I had to watch what was going on. And I know those meals can spike a little bit. And I did a correction, but, I kept it in range.
Mhm.
And I would love every meal to go, bzzz, like this, but it's not yet. Maybe I'll get there. Maybe I'll get there, but not yet. But still, it's going to.
That's
So,
that's
so I
incredible,
thank
though.
you. Yeah, I just want to thank you so, so, so much, Matt, for the information. And I totally encourage people, if they can manage it financially, to make the leap. It's your health, and you never have regrets uh, about spending money on your health if you can. So anyway, if you have any questions, go for it. I've been talking a lot.
Absolutely. Well, I would love to dive a little bit deeper into specific portions. So I know that beforehand you were talking about you got the reader for the Freestyle Libre, but it turned into overnight alarms, and your endo is like just set your alarms higher so you don't hear it. Were the alarms the only frustration that you had with your diabetes, or was it fluctuations daily or
Well,
uncertainty?
yeah, at that point, the lows were getting much. I was controlling the lows a lot more because I was looking at my readout, and that particular software is good. It actually can say it out loud if you wanted to. And I use a hearing aid. I don't have it on now. I use it sometimes, but it would just be saying it in my ear if I wanted it to. And that
Oh,
was good for a while. So that was cool. So I avoided the lows pretty
mhm.
much all the time, uh, like 99% of the time, which was just great because my doctor was very concerned about lows. He said, at your age, lows are the big danger for I think for your heart was what he said.
Mm.
Anyway, I'm not sure why he said that, but he did. But just after meals, it was always like, well, what's it going to do this time?
Oh,
And not knowing, and kind of, it was a guessing game. Am I giving the right amount? And am I splitting the bolus the right way? Actually, I didn't play with changing the split boluses and all of that, because my endocrinologist said, do it this way. And I think I was always doing 60-40 1 hour, something like that, every meal,
okay.
no matter what. And it was just unpredictable a good deal of the time, unless it was the same meal that I had the previous day. So that
Right.
was really frustrating. And yeah, it's like you're just kind of waiting to see what was going to happen and hoping that you did the right reaction at the right time.
A lot of
So,
hoping. Yeah, I've certainly been there in the past. Like, okay, fingers crossed. I hope this meal works. Oh
well,
man,
sometimes you eat something really different and you do your best, but
right. So when you were trying to figure out the uncertainty behind blood sugars, what was that like for you, and what were you
I
trying
was
to?
desperate. I was, emotionally a basket case. And I mean, diabetes is like such an obsession. You can't escape it. It's there
Right.
all the time. It's like everyone says, it's your little friend or your little part-time job or your diet. My diet, my diet buddy is my diabetes. Like I mean, he never goes away.
Always
He's
by your
always
side.
hammering away. Like go away, leave me alone. Doesn't want to do that.
Oh man.
So yeah, so just I was totally stressed out and really desperate because I just don't like living that way. Uh, and now there's like light is seeping in. There's more air. It's easier to breathe with all of this stuff.
Wow.
And the other thing too, I got to say, it's about the course is, it's you see your endo once. I see mine every 6 months, and
Mhm.
that's it. And he looks at a few charts and says, well, this is what I think. And he makes really good observations, and they can be great, but
Yeah.
it's not like it is in the course where we get to discuss all these things. And it's the weekly calls are just great, and going through all the details and sending you emails and getting feedback and all of that is great. And it's funny, I religiously attended all the coaching calls. I didn't miss one. And yet there's always another question, and they'll keep on being another question, I imagine, for a very long time. So it was great to have you there to answer those. And that's a fundamental, that's different. And the other people in the course, just being able to share stuff
Mhm.
and all of that is, not feeling so alone is really great. Um, I'm a healthy diabetic, and most people, like before I started the course, my A1C was 6.9, and sometimes it had even been lower. Now it's 6.6 with the course. So it's better. But the time in range, I'm sure it used to be 80% or something. I don't know. I never measured it religiously between what is it? And I'm trying to convert the numbers. It's between 100 and 180, I guess, or between 80 and 180 as the standard. Is that it for the
Pretty close, yeah. 70 to 180 is the
70?
standard.
Yeah.
So,
So, we measure it differently. It's between 4 and 10.
right.
But I'm sure I'm sure I was going up to 12, 13 every day. And,
Mm.
so my A1C, and I had more reactions. So my A1C was good, but it wasn't a real reflection of my time in range. And my time in range must have been quite a lot lower. So there's no
Right.
comparison. And that makes
Love
me feel
that.
great, and it gives me confidence knowing I can do it. Like, it's work to keep your time in range. If the sugar's spiking up, hey, better run upstairs and get on the bike. But that works. I spend 5 minutes on the bike, and I do it with dumbbells in my arms. It's amazing how fast it works.
So
And
true. Yeah,
I mean,
these
it just
little
blows
tiny
my mind.
choices.
I see the curve, and it's going up, and then it takes sometimes 5 minutes to turn it around. Oh, great, I'm still in range. So
Absolutely.
that's
And I
awesome.
mean, these are fun, like little tidbits that you picked up through the course, obviously. But before you jumped in, not knowing that there were these different strategies you could use, I mean, what made you make a chance to work with us? I know that you visited the summit and you've been watching the YouTube videos, but I mean, what gave you that confidence to take the leap of faith to work with
Well,
us?
you do promise a lot of things, and I took you at face value, and it sounded really good, and I was desperate, and I, like, no matter how healthy my endo said I was, and no matter what else I may have heard, I knew that I was, like, in this
Mm.
vortex, this chaotic situation of being out of control, in some sense, of not knowing what was going to happen tomorrow with my diabetes, because I just couldn't control it, and I hated that feeling.
Mm.
So, you threw me a lifeline with what you said about the course, and that convinced me. And it's a substantial chunk of cash. I'm retired, and that's a big deal. But I have no regrets about that whatsoever. It's totally money well spent, and your health is just, what can I say? It's just so important. So that
Absolutely.
was it. It was this feeling of going from desperation to and having some hope from listening to what you were saying, and deciding to go for it. So I did.
That's
And
incredible. Well, I love that you did. I mean, you've been telling us stories about how incredibly different the world of diabetes is now for you. And I mean, was there a moment in the program specifically that you remember where you were like, it clicked, or like you started to see that it was working for you?
well, the first part of the program was terrible. The basal testing is so tough. So getting through that was just such a relief. And then I just devoured the rest of the course. And understanding pre-bolus is a lot better. I did a lot of work on that, and I put up that table to help understand what impacts your pre-bolus times, what kind of foods, what the exercise, and to try and rationalize, because it's so complicated. You come up to make a meal, and you're hungry. People are waiting. You got to do your shot. What's going on? State of minor confusion there. You can easily get swept away and not think. So I spent a lot of time on that, and that was really useful. Just thinking about that a lot and trying to see all these factors. That was a big moment, and getting really, that's been fundamental for me. Just getting a better handle on the pre-boluses, understanding the relationship between the macronutrients, and yeah. So that was a big thing. And then the exercise, the AIRS testing,
Mhm.
the aerobic impact uh,
Right. Okay.
ratios.
So a few different
They're
pieces
all,
of that.
the whole course it's really well laid out. I would have a whole list of suggestions for you to make it better, but I'm just kidding right now, Matt.
I love it.
Sometimes after in our conversations, you've explained things to me, and you say, well, this is what it's all about. And you drew this little diagram one time, last time we talked,
Yeah.
this little triangle. And I'm saying, well, what didn't he talk about this in the course? I don't even think, maybe I missed it. Maybe, or you did it in another coaching session, but like I would like that to be part of the course and for that to be spelled out in more details, stuff like that. But I'm not, that's such positive criticism.
Absolutely.
Just is such good stuff overall. And it really makes sense, the whole thing, it just hangs together. So, so it's been a gradual series of, it's been gradual learning, absorbing the different parts. The way you teach the course is one thing, and how I can use it for myself is another thing.
Mm-hmm.
And realizing what's really useful for me, out of the course is taking me time and, figuring out exactly the best way to use the information. That's going to take more time. So I don't know if I've answered your question, but
you did in parts,
at
right? And I love that you brought up that positive feedback, but also just areas for improvement, or how else can we make it easier to digest. The program changes every couple of months with new pieces in there, new information, and that diagram that I drew for you is actually one of the pieces that we're adding in just to make it more simplified and easier to understand. So I love that you brought that up, because yes, we're always looking to improve it. It's a dynamic program. It's always moving. And then of course, we've had that chat that simplified it for you, but if we were to just zoom out and look at it like as a big picture, what is it like now that, your problem is solved with these time and range numbers increasing, and even comparing it from beginning before the program to now, where did you start? Where did you end up? And what's that like for you?
Well, I know in our first call, when you said, what are your goals? One of the big things for me was just being able to go for long walks, not, and I specifically long walks after a meal.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I can do that now if I, so that is like, wow. If I eat, if I, if I have, it's not like I'm going to, have spaghetti and take all that insulin and then go for a walk. That's insane. That's kind of suicide. Diabetes and insulin, they're realities. So you got to, but if I have a little bit of warning, so, an hour's warning, so I can plan my meal, and hey, I'm gonna know what to do, and I can just go for a walk and go for as long as I want. So that's great. Little emotional moment here.
I love it.
Big deal. And the other things I've already mentioned, but I like this idea of just getting better at it. So there's more and more air. It's easier to breathe as a diabetic, and decisions are faster. It's easier to make about, bolusing, and about correction strategies and what kind of exercise and when to do it. That all of these things will just get easier to know how to do it, and I'll get better at it. And there's, it's not like I've taken this course, it was great, now I'm going to go learn something else. Like, this is the course that that I'll be taking for the rest of my life in some sense. So I know I'll have lots of opportunity to get better at it, and to make it, and to get that much more out of it. So that's great.
I love that. That's incredible. And I know that you mentioned earlier, like, you weren't 100% sure where the time and range started, somewhere around 80%, let's say, but now you're hitting 99. I mean, that was today, which is incredible.
I really worked on that, Matt. I knew the sharing was coming.
You're like, I'm going to share my screen, so it has to be good. That's absolutely incredible. I love that. And especially the freedom that you have now to go for walks and enjoy life, have it be simplified. I mean, looking back to where you were in that initial conversation that we had, I mean, what would you tell someone who might be on the fence? Maybe they're like, should I jump into something? Is it worth, spending that much time and effort on my diabetes? What are your thoughts on that, if you were to tell someone?
Oh, well, there's no question in my mind that it's worth it. I mean, it's life altering. It's black and white. If you can afford it and you have the time, and it's not really that much time. It's more the the commitment to doing well, in particular the basal testing, just
Yeah.
being having the willpower to get through it and manage that. There's no question in my mind that I would just give it a total thumbs up. Do this course. Don't wait, because you'll benefit from it, and you'll be happier and healthier. No, there's no question about it being just 100% yes. Do this thing. It's worth it. So
That's amazing. Well, I mean, obviously we've covered a lot of ground, and just hearing about your story, I didn't even know all of the pieces of it. So it's fun for me to listen to you share that whole linear journey as well. I mean, is there anything else that you want to add to the end of this?
uh, no, I just it's personal. So everyone has to figure how they can best take the information and make it work for them. And the way to do that is to take the course and to see what you can do with it. And we all have different struggles. Maybe it's my genes, or maybe it's just who I am. I've been lucky with diabetes. I haven't had complications. I'm healthy. I've always been a healthy diabetic, in spite of my lack of knowledge.
Hmm.
But people come into it from all different situations, and I'm sure it can help all of them. It can only make their situation better, no matter what is happening. So I say go for it if you possibly can. Um, and I guess that's about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I love that too, the example that you set, where yes, we have a lot of clients who are coming in with high A1Cs. It's wildly fluctuating and quite difficult to control, and we help them as well, right? But you came in, you were already, like you said, healthy. Your A1C was pretty good, your time of range is pretty good, but you wanted to fine tune and then regain that quality of life aspect, the freedom to go for a walk, for example. And I respect that you didn't want to settle for being good enough and just raising your overnight alert settings, right?
Well,
You wanted control, and that
I'm
is
a total perfectionist. I actually worked as a violin maker for 2 years of my life. I've done many different things.
wow.
Most of my career was as a software developer, but I was a violin maker. And talk about learning to be a perfectionist, and that stuck with me. And it's
Mm-hmm.
really hard for me to do things in a shoddy way, and it applies to my diabetes. It just didn't feel right for me. So I needed to learn more. I needed to figure out everything I possibly could. And it's a journey that will continue, I'm sure. And also, hopefully, there'll be huge improvements in the technology, which is,
Absolutely.
it's a pretty blunt weapon, insulin. And
Yeah. It's
we
very true.
we do the best we can with it, but this is where we're at. So,
So
I'm
we'll do the
just trying to
best with what we have.
yeah, I'm trying to really do the best I possibly can and make myself proud of myself. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's it.
Well, on that note, I want to tell you how proud I am of you, whether or not you realize it or not, but you, like you said, showed up to every single class. You put the effort in. It wasn't fun to get the basal set and figure out diabetes, but you did it. You got the results, and that's on you. Like, we can give you the tools, yes, but you put the work in, and I am so proud of you, Elliot, for just
Yeah,
crushing
well,
it. You did so well. The as you showed, you shared your screen today, 99% time in range. That's incredible. I'm just so
two
happy
days,
that
2 days. Come on, say the truth. What? Not
that's
one
right.
day, 2 days.
Yeah, 2 days in a row, 99%. Oh man, Elliot, I am honored to have been part of your journey, though you put the efforts in, and I want to say I'm proud of you for doing that. Really am.
Well, I'm so happy to to collaborate with you and to share your story and your knowledge. It's been great that you're so committed to sharing this stuff. You put so much work in. It just you keep your head above water with all of these commitments, and you do an amazing job. So I
Appreciate that.
I thank you for that too.
My absolute pleasure. Yeah, and I'm so thankful that you were able to come into our world. Like, you found the summit and the YouTube, and thrilled that you kind of found your way into our program and got to change your life with this. Of course, I know that people are watching maybe in a similar spot to where you were at, where this is the first video they've seen. They don't even know who we are. In fact, for anybody who is watching, I'm sure this is probably the video that Elliot saw initially, actually. Um, there's a training that you can actually go check out to see if you even like what we do. As Elliot mentioned, it's analytical, with more precise, and that's what we do is get blood sugars predictable. And if you want to check out that training that introduced Elliot to our world, that's over at diabetesinaction.com. You can go watch a free training there and check it all out. But Elliot, one more time, I want to thank you for the story that you shared with us today, the inspiration, the hope, the light that you're giving to these people watching the video. And again, congratulate you on your incredible results. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, well, thanks so much, Matt. It's been a real pleasure for me too.
Absolutely.
You have a great day.
Thank you as well. Everybody else, thank you for watching and sharing an Elliot story with us. Be sure to check out that training at diabetesinaction.com. I'll see you guys in the next video. Keep up the fight.